Yeah. What is it? Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He leads me up Chavano.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's, that's the new Zach version, or the
that's
new Will
my
Erickson version of the
it's,
Bible. Yeah.
that's my living translation right there. Yeah.
He has kept me safe on many a couloir and Capitol's Bridge.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Greens and Blues 14er podcast. This episode, we catch back up with Will Erickson, who takes us through a crash course in winter hiking. Good afternoon, Dr. Simpson. How's it going?
Oh, it's going well, Eric. How are things in your neck of the woods?
They're going all right. We've finally had some good snow in recent days, and now the sun's back out and it's all melting again, and we'll get ready for it in another couple of weeks. Hopefully we get some more snow. I haven't had to water my trees in probably 3 days, which is awesome because this winter I've had to do a whole lot of that. So
Wow.
that's how we're doing. How are you doing, Zach?
I'm well. It has been an exceedingly warm winter here in Oklahoma and like a lot of other places. That's a bit paradoxical for what we're going to talk about today because we're going to talk about winter hiking. And
It's winter somewhere, right? Hopefully there's snow in somewhere in the world.
that's maybe in Antarctica. Part of the inspiration for this episode was me being on Facebook here and there and looking at pictures of a man and a trench, and Will Erickson posting winter hiking photos all this winter long, and me longing for some winter weather and some snow, and getting in my fix by seeing somebody else do it, at least vicariously, has been nice. So, ironically, it hasn't been much of a winter, but here we are today. We're going to be talking about winter hiking with Will Erickson.
Yeah, we're looking forward to this. So one thing I do want to kind of put a disclaimer out there before we get into our conversation with Will. So in this conversation, we start talking about the Southern Sangres, and Will mentions Culebra, Red Mountain are down there. Those are on private property with the Cielo Vista Ranch. He has some really good insights into hiking with the Cielo Vista Ranch as well, whether it's in the winter or summer. And the three of us start kind of joking around a little bit about like putting on ski masks and kind of going rogue. And I just want to say we are completely joking around when we start getting into stuff like that. We do not condone trespassing. We don't want to put ourselves or other hikers at risk of not having access to the mountain at all. I think that would be a risk if any of us were to go rogue and try to hike mountains that are on private property that we haven't signed a waiver for or that we shouldn't have access to. So, yeah, when we dig into that section, I just want to put a little disclaimer out there. We are just joking around. We're just being silly. So,
Oh,
that's all I got.
Eric, killing the fun for the rest of us with your legal advice here. No, I agree. By all accounts, Cielo Vista is a very good steward of the land that they have.
Yep.
They're good with hikers. They're good at working with hikers to achieve their personal goals. I think you and I have talked about in a year or two, maybe going down and doing Culebra and
Yeah.
Red Mountain. I completely agree with that, though you're harshing the buzz with the fun laughs we had in this conversation. I want to say one other thing. This episode is a first. This is the first return guest we've ever had
That's right.
on the Greens and Blues podcast. Having Will back was great because our first conversation got cut short just a little bit. Will had better things to do than to talk to us knuckleheads.
What? Really? He had better things to do than that?
I mean, most people don't, but he's forgiven.
Okay.
And this was part of his path to forgiveness, was coming back on the podcast and chatting us up. We hit him up and we wanted to know a little bit more about winter hiking because he does a lot of it, and he's really gracious with talking about it and being open about it on Facebook with other people. So we thought it'd be a good chance to kind of loop back around to Will and see how he's doing and see what he's been up to. And it was fun to talk to him again. He's a really, really nice guy who knows a lot. There's a little tidbit in here where we ask him about his winter gear, and he just throws in that he wears sweatpants. And I just thought, hey, he's just like the rest of us. So,
I love it. With that, we'll jump into it with Will. Well, it's great to welcome Will Erickson back to the Greens and Blues podcast. Will, it's great to see you. Thanks for joining us again.
Hey, happy to be here.
thanks for joining us, Will. So, Will, I should say, you are being honored today. You're the first time we've ever had a return guest.
First repeat.
Oh yeah, you're the first repeat on the Greens and Blues podcast. So, and I have spent the last few months being regaled / envious and jealous of seeing your winter hiking, winter climbing photos, occasional video here and there.
Mm-hmm.
You are low grade social media famous for setting the trench for roughly half the 13ers in Colorado every winter. So we just wanted to talk to you about winter hiking today. Like this is just going to be like a thing that Will knows a lot about that we don't know enough about. Kind of wanted to have just a soup to nuts conversation of just like what it involves. When I go hiking in the summer, I can screw up half my stuff, right? I can show up, I can wear shorts, I can wear pants, I can hike, and if I make a mistake, so what? If you make mistakes in the high country in the winter, there's a little bit more fragility involved there. Yeah, a little more consequence. So Eric and I just kind of wanted to start out with just some super basic, or they may be basic to you questions, but they're not to us or to maybe whoever might be listening to this. So I want to ask you a super easy question at the beginning. When you go winter hiking, what do you wear?
I used to have this theory that once the temperature dropped below 10 degrees, you couldn't tell the difference. That's not true. You can tell the difference. I mean, I'm
negative 10 really is 20 degrees colder than 10, right?
Man, I've only had 2 really super cold days this winter. Calibra, and it actually wasn't winter, but early December I went up Chavano and it was really cold. I always have the same level of layers, but the thickness varies. I wear thermals, sweatpants, and then my snow pants down low. Two layers of socks, partly because I get blisters on my toes if I don't wear those little toe socks that have your toes individual.
Oh, really?
Interesting.
Yeah,
okay.
For some reason I get blisters. I don't know. I don't get blisters in the summer, but
you would think with how much hiking you do, your feet would be thoroughly broken in.
Yeah. But if I don't wear those toe socks, I get blisters for some reason. So 2 layers of socks, and then up top, t-shirt, long sleeve shirt, sweater, and then heavy coat. The only time I ever delayer is, the heavy coat. I pretty much keep everything on. And sometimes it'll be kind of warm down low before it gets cold and you get into the wind. But I just deal with being a little too warm. I'm not gonna take pants off.
I've done that before, and I'm like, oh, I'm hot. I'll take off my pants. Nope. I immediately regret that.
Yeah.
What's your footwear situation like? So I'm sure there's different footwear for different occasions. So what are you doing for your feet?
My footwear kind of sucks. I wear these Merrell. They're called Merrell Thermo. I don't think they even make them anymore. They're not fancy or expensive. I almost always end up with wet feet at the end of the day.
Okay.
I have a hard time finding boots that are comfortable. Most people for winter, they wear really stiff boots.
Yeah.
I don't like that. I mean, that's probably helpful for a couloir or, when you're wearing crampons, but it's really not that often that you're, doing a couloir or wearing crampons. So I like those Merrells because they're really flexible. Part of the reason my feet are always wet is even if they don't get soaked from the snow, they just sweat like crazy. I gotta keep the boots in the trunk or the bed of my truck on the way back, because once that sweat starts, you could just smell it like crazy. So, I just bought a new pair of boots, but I haven't tried them yet. A fancy pair of Las Sportivas that were, I know. I cringed at the price of these darn things, but I thought I'd try something that might do a better job at keeping my feet dry.
Yeah, I bought a pair of the Solomon Thermic Pros or something like that last year, and
Yeah.
those are awfully nice. But they could be a little warm too. Do you carry snowshoes and not crampons, but I guess
Micro spikes.
micro spikes with you?
Yeah, I only take crampons if I know I'm going to need them. I mean, there's very few. I mean, if you're just doing basic hikes, you just don't really need crampons. You need them when you're doing something serious. I always carry micro spikes, but I hardly ever wear them. I haven't put them on at all this winter. I didn't use them at all last winter. I carry them as a just in case, but hardly ever use them.
Okay. All right. So we got clothing down. In terms of just your setup, you oftentimes, even in the winter, camp at trailheads.
Yeah.
And how do you do that and stay warm while you're doing that?
So I upgraded my camping setup this year. Previously, for the last 6 years, I was driving a Honda Element with a camper top up top, and I love that little car, but it wasn't very off-roady and it had no heat. So I really didn't camp in the winter. I would basically camp from like April to November. This year I upgraded and bought a truck with a pop-up camper, and it's actually got a propane furnace. So it's complete game changer. I never camped in winter before this year, but that propane furnace, it can add about 35, 40 degrees to whatever the outside temp is.
Wow.
So I mean, if it's like single digits, I was camped up by Creed in January, and the outside temperature when I went to bed was like 8, and it was still a little chilly with the furnace going full blast, but that's doable.
At least get in your sleeping bag and be warm then, right?
Yeah, and it's nice waking up in the morning and putting all your gear on and stuff in reasonably warm temperatures. So it's been really nice.
That's awesome. You camp out. What do you eat before you get going in the morning? Do you cook a hot breakfast in winter hike?
I don't cook hardly anything. I eat a couple of pastries. These cream cheese. You'd call them they're junk food, but they're high in calories and they're easy to eat quickly. So usually I'll eat like 3 of those, which is like almost 1,000 calories before I get started. So I don't want to have to stop and eat all the time on the way up. So if I eat a big breakfast, I really can usually go a pretty good distance before I start getting hungry.
Wow. So I'm curious. I've read multiple theories on what to do with water when you're winter hiking. So do you have any particular strategies or what do you typically do when you're out in the cold?
I don't drink water. Water is too bland. I just don't drink water. I take Powerade Zero. The benefit to those, they have a little bit lower freezing point. They won't freeze as quickly as water does. I'm not an engineer, but something about the electrolytes or whatever. But they almost never freeze. But I keep 2 or 3 or however many I think I'm going to need in my backpack, and I throw 1 in my shirt, so it stays warm for my body temp. So even the ones in my backpack rarely freeze, but if they freeze, move them to my shirt and they'll melt out in a little bit.
That's fascinating.
Some people try the liquid. What do you call them? Where it's got like the bag,
like a Camelback.
That's it.
Oh no, Camelback will freeze in the winter every time.
That's what I heard.
Not a great idea.
I've never had issues doing the Powerade thing, even on a really cold day.
That's
I love it that like elite mountaineers are out there like with just the perfectly honed diet and like the perfect combination of gear and Will's out there in
junk food,
sweatpants and junk food. And like you're just a high performance machine, just feeding it premium all day long.
Yep. Love the Reese's peanut butter things.
Oh my gosh.
Even when they freeze, they're perfectly edible.
Yeah, like a Snickers. If it's frozen, you can drive nails with it. A Reese's,
you can't eat it.
Perfect.
Yep.
Even better kind of when they're a little cold. So.
Yeah, they're better frozen.
Yeah, good man.
These are great strategies. I love it. I love this whole thing. This is awesome.
I'm gonna go eat dinner right now. So now let's say you're on the trail. Explain to me and other novices what is trenching and when do you do it?
So trenching is essentially breaking trail in fresh snow. So most of the 14ers and all of the 13ers in winter, you're almost always trenching, at least at some point. Sometimes you'll have an approach that might be shared with some other place. Like I was up at Music Pass and I was trenching the first day because I was the first one up. But when I got back that first Saturday, a couple of skiers had been out, but they didn't go the same route that I went. They just went up to Music Pass. So I had a little bit better trench getting down, but it's the hardest part physically of winter hiking is, deep snow. And it varies pretty considerably. I mean, even in a standard snowpack year, some trenching is easier than others. It's something about how the snow bonds and compacts down. I mean, I've had days where the trenching was so hard that I just couldn't even get to tree line. Not super common, but it happens where the trenching can be way harder than other days. This winter, it's been generally pretty easy because, the snowpack is so low that there's just not enough to really give you tough trenching conditions. Most people hate it. I enjoy it. I mean, it's a lot of work, but that's part of the challenge, I think, and part of the attraction is it feels like a bigger deal when you get to tree line after trenching for 4 or 5 miles.
It seems like when you share posts about having done Chavano and Tabawash or anything, part of the allure for you seems to be the trenching part of it. And I guess that was my question: is for something that the rest of us would benefit from, why is it something that you enjoy so much? Because it would be so challenging and so taxing, but it sounds like that's exactly the reason why you like it.
Kind of like running. Most people think running is a chore, but some people, enjoy it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's just the hard challenge of it. I like being able to turn around and look back at my work and be like, wow, that was a lot of work. Look at those tracks.
I did that.
I think they look cool. I think they look cool.
Yeah.
I think I speak for everybody. I haven't even benefited from one of your trenches this year, but thank you.
Well, I'm sad to say the Capitol Trench is probably gone. You'll not be able to use that one.
It's been filled in at this point. Yeah. I saw that you'd gone to Music Pass and done a couple there, and I was like, man, I can drive out there in one day and I can just go up in his trench. And I'm sure there's more than a few people that are like, well, maybe I'll go there now because Will's cut a trench, so it hasn't snowed since.
More common on 14ers than 13ers. Nobody does 13ers in the summertime. Even less people do them in the wintertime.
Yeah. Do you find that you're often like not just breaking first tracks, but often on 13ers, you're cutting new trail anyway. So are there any additional route finding difficulties in the winter that you don't encounter in the summer?
I mean, the bushwhacking part makes it harder. Even if there is a trail in the winter, you don't see it unless it's like perfectly cut through a swath of trees.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sucky at route finding anyway, so I almost always have a GPX track from somebody that went up the same route in summertime. Pretty much all the 13ers you can find a GPX track on 14ers.com. I usually take one of those because I can't find my way out of a shoebox. I
relate to that.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. People I'm most impressed with are the people that did this crap in the 70s and 80s. They didn't have GPS. They had to just sort of, they say you should learn how to do a map and compass. I don't know how to do a map and compass. If my phone dies and my trench to get me back dies, I might just die out there. I don't know how people did this without GPS technology.
Your success rate for going out and hiking a mountain's probably in the 80s, 90s%.
Yeah.
And back in the day, you'd find a peak on a map. I mean, my dad tells stories like this, and you'd be like, oh, that looks interesting. And that looks like that basin might go. And then you show up and, those intervals on a map are 30-foot intervals. There could be a 20-foot cliff there. And you're like, well, guess that's not going to happen today.
Yep.
I mean, I'm sure you've seen those old guidebooks, like the Bornemann and Lampert books and stuff. And like, it'll be a class 513er and it'll have a 3-sentence route description, it'll be like head up to the left after the first Gindarm. And you're like, what does that even mean? Like, yeah, there's a lot of failure, I think, where people just didn't know what they were doing.
Yeah, there wasn't nearly as much beta. And part of the thing you got to do in winter is you got to look at the slope angle shading.
Mm,
So, like where I'm going this weekend is avalanche conditions are considerable. So, I got to find something that has a reasonably low slope angle
yep.
because I'm not trying to go out there and get killed in an avalanche. So, I mean, back then it's like, how did you know how steep a slope was going to be? And was there even avalanche forecasting? Probably not.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of them had a sextant and they would just literally take a measurement. And, but yeah, that was going to be actually my next question. What do you do for avalanche awareness and maybe abating some of the avalanche concerns? Because you're out there pretty much every weekend. So, what are you doing to keep an eye on that?
Yeah, mostly just the route planning. To be honest, I've gone up some things that I probably shouldn't have gone up and probably been lucky a few times. I'm not an avalanche expert. I haven't taken any of the courses or anything. Whether it's wise or not, I don't know, but I can kind of feel what feels stable versus what is like, okay, this, I probably shouldn't be going up this slope. Or, I've had a few times I turned back when I thought a slope didn't feel like it was safe to go up. But honestly, it's mostly just a gut feeling and what type of slope I think would trigger an avalanche.
In terms of route planning, you're trying to stay above or never travel through areas that are below a chute or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're setting trench, you're watching for avalanches. What are the differences and risks that are involved in going on the alpine or scrambling in the winter versus, say, the summer?
I mean, everything's harder in winter, but generally above tree line, not every route and every peak, but generally above tree line, most peaks are wind blown. So you don't have a ton of snow to deal with.
Mm.
That's not always the case, but most places, unless you're doing, crazy stuff like the most challenging 14ers and 13ers, you can usually get around snow. The safest and, in my opinion, most fun way to do things is to get to the ridge as quick as you can. And if there's some scrambling, one, it's more fun, and two, way safer.
Do you encounter much ice when you are scrambling on rock and stuff like that?
Not really. I hardly ever see ice. If you see snow, it's not
Hmm.
usually not difficult to manage. I say I don't really use crampons or microspikes that often. Only in the more sketchy peaks, but no, don't really see much ice.
So you recently posted a video of yourself on the knife edge on
Yeah,
Capitol with plenty of snow. So we've already established in this episode you've done lots of snow hiking.
yeah.
I think the last time we talked with you, you established you've done plenty of class 4 hiking. How much have you combined those two factors together and done like really, really difficult hikes in the winter where both elements are present at the same time?
I mean, in the grand scheme of things, not very often. All the class 4 14ers, those are all pretty sketchy. And the
Mm.
hardest of the hard winter 14ers are called the Dirty Dozen. Um, they're not all class 4, but things don't have to be class 4 when you introduce snow into the equation.
Oh yeah.
It escalates pretty quickly. Beyond those, I really haven't done a lot. I don't know, the 10 or 15 hardest winter 14ers, probably the only really, really sketchy winter stuff I've done. Most of the other winter stuff are just, you know, easy 13er walk ups or 13ers with fun ridges where they're generally wind blown. So.
Okay. So what was the knife edge like then?
Yeah, let's talk about Capitol Peak in the winter.
Yeah, so I've done Capital in winter twice. I actually have 4 attempts on Capital in winter. My first attempt on Capital in winter was in 22. I got up to K2 and I just decided today was not my day to die. The snow was fine, the weather was fine, everything was fine. I wasn't tired. I just couldn't talk myself into going down and continuing on. So that was my first attempt. The next year in 23, I went up and I had originally planned on going by myself. I don't really hike with partners. One, because I don't want to put anybody at risk. And two, it's hard to find people that your schedule works with and your pace is even and your
Yeah,
tolerance for risk is similar.
Yep.
Who
I
can
don't
keep
want
up with you is the real question.
Seriously, that's
to. Well,
you're being nice when you say it that way, but the truth
you-
is, who can keep up with you?
yeah, you're an
well,
animal.
Yeah.
the way this panned out was just kind of got lucky. So I had gone up a few days before winter and I put in a trench to Moon Lake, which is right at tree line on the way to Capitol. And basically my theory was I want to give myself every possible advantage. If spending a day putting a trench in up there gives me a little more energy and makes my approach faster when I actually go for it, well, then I'm going to be less tired and I wanted to give myself every possible advantage. So I did that, and then my friend Brad McQueen. I don't know if you guys know him, but Brad is close to being a winter finisher too. He's at I think he's got 6 left.
Yeah,
Um,
he's an absolute beast too.
he's crazy. He's crazy. Just did Vincent down in Antarctica
Oh
last
yeah,
month.
yeah. Yep.
Anyway,
Piece of cake. Summer hike.
uh, got to comment on his fantastic beard too. Anyway, Brad was looking at snowmass for early winter that year. And so I gave him a heads up. I was just telling him what the snow was like in the Elks because I had put in that trench to Moon Lake. Originally, there was a 2-day window at the start of winter before storms were coming in.
Mhm.
And he was going to go camp at Geneva Lake and then try and do snowmass. Well, the storm forecast changed and it was going to move in quicker, so it shrunk to a single day. So Brad asked, "Hey, can I come use your trench to get Capitol?" I was like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." And Brad brought John Balsiar. He goes by Scree Surfer on
Okay.
14ers.com.
Yep.
He's a winter finisher. That guy is my hero. He's 10 years older than me, but he's faster than me. I mean, he is
Whoa.
it's amazing. He is super nice, super tall.
Sounds pretty super.
He's super. The
To be
guy,
out in front of the hike.
he is my hero. He is my hero. So anyway, we go up and we didn't really stay together when we were on the approach. I was still sort of the mindset that I wanted to get Capitol on my own. I had done all the other winter 14ers on my own. It was never an explicit goal. It just sort of worked out that way, and it just seemed sort of silly to not, finish on my own. Anyway, I got up to K2, and Brad and John were a little bit behind me. Brad decided he didn't want to go any further, so he stopped at K2. I went down first, and I got about halfway across the Knife Ridge, and I looked at the remaining route to Capitol, and it was like, okay, this is dumb. I've got John had done Winter Capitol twice already. He's now done it 3 times in winter and a couple more times in winter conditions. I got there and I thought, man, this is stupid. I should just wait for John and I'm going to let him lead me. So John came across and he led up the rest of the way. I don't know if I would have gotten to the Capitol then or weekend before last without seeing him kind of show what the route looks like. Most of the route to Capitol, you just stay on the ridge all the way up, which is, what you do in most winter peaks. But there's 2 places where you can't stay on the ridge unless you're doing like 5.6, 5.7 climbing. And I'm a hiker, not a climber. John kind of showed me that, hey, it's okay to go out on the face. And you go out on the face for, I don't know, maybe 100, 150 feet. And it's super steep, but the snow felt fine. Then when you get past the rock cliffs, then you go straight up to regain the ridge. I think that's the hardest part of Winter Capitol is you can't really tell exactly what's underneath you. And the snow isn't deep enough that you're biting whatever rock is underneath the snow, but you can't see it or feel it.
Yeah. So you're kind of plunging your foot and not knowing exactly what your footing is.
Yep. Exactly. So there's 2 places where you do that. And I think those are the hardest parts. And like I say, if I hadn't had John leading up that first time in winter of it was December of 23. I don't know if I ever would have had the confidence to actually do that. I mean, that was the same route I went this month when I went up, followed kind of the same thing. Those parts were a little bit harder with less snow.
Yeah.
I thought, John and I, we made it to the summit. And when I was coming back from that Winter Capitol trip, this is going to sound completely dumb, and it is completely dumb, but I was a little bit disappointed that I couldn't do it on my own. I mean,
no, that's
I'm
not dumb. There's a certain ownership of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad John was there because I don't think I would have gotten up it without him. That was the reason I did it again a couple of weeks ago was I wanted to get it on my own. I wanted to know that I could do it myself and maybe question that thought process when I was on those couple of places. It's like, what on earth am I doing? Man, it was a good experience. And thank the Lord I got up and down safely and survived it.
These are long days for you, yeah?
Yeah.
When you do
Yeah,
something like that?
yeah, Winter Capital's not the longest of the long. I mean, I've had some 20-hour days. When the first time when John and I did it, I think we were right under 18 hours. This time, I was at like 17:20. I mean, it's 21 and a half, it was like 21 and a half miles. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
long distance. The trail breaking was easier this time. And there actually was a short trench from the creek crossing I don't know, probably maybe 2.5 miles. There was a short trench. Somebody else was up there, but they didn't go very far into tree line, so that sped me up a little bit, and just the overall trenching was a little bit easier. Yeah, it's not the longest of the long routes. I mean, some of these winter routes are 25, 30 miles,
Oof.
but it certainly takes some endurance.
Do you ever crave or want to snow camp?
No, I did that. I did that. Man, it's
That was
miserable.
quick.
It is
Yeah.
so
Oh, it's miserable. It's so cold.
Oh, I've only done it twice. Once in winter and once in late fall. The only time I winter camped was for the Chicago Basin Peaks,
Oh, wow.
and
Oh
oh
boy.
my gosh, it was so hard. And I don't know what it was. I didn't sleep hardly at all the 2 nights. I had pretty good conditions. There was a trench most of the way up to tree line in Chicago Basin that year. Again, Brad McQueen, that was him that put that in. So I was able to get in on one day, get all 4 peaks in one day, and then get out in one day. So I only had to camp 2 nights. I wasn't cold up there. I mean, the sleeping bag I was using is rated to like negative 25. I wasn't cold, but for some reason I just could not sleep to save my life. The first night I slept maybe an hour.
Oh,
Then the second night, and the first night it sort of made sense having some anxiety.
yeah.
But the second night I got all the peaks. I didn't have
You'd
any
think you'd
danger.
relax at that point, right?
I know it didn't make any sense, but I didn't sleep at all. I mean, I went to bed. I got back to camp at like 5 o'clock. I'm in bed by 6. I just laid there until like 3 a.m. because, even though I couldn't sleep, I knew I needed to rest my legs before the long trek out. So I just laid there all night until about 3 o'clock, and then packed up everything and headed back to the car. Man, it was a tough experience, and I
Oh
was
my
I was
gosh.
fortunate. There was a section of the creek about a half mile from camp where there was running water, so I
Oh,
didn't even
wow.
have to melt snow because I tried melting snow once, and that I suck at that too. I mean, it's just I don't know winter camping. The people that do that all the time, they're nuts, man. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it.
They're
It's
just a
tough.
tougher breed, right? Like the few times I've done it, I've always frozen my butt off. And same
Yeah,
thing, I can't sleep. It's like my body doesn't even want to. It's like
yeah.
it's afraid to fall asleep and freeze or something. Like, so I am 100% with you there, Will.
Yeah.
So speaking of Chicago Basin, like when you look at your winter climbing experience, is that one of the tougher experiences you've had?
It was mostly because of the camping and having to haul your gear all the way
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. Yep.
So previously, I don't know when they stopped, but the train used to run in winter. Some people have gotten the Chicago Basin peaks by taking the train to Needleton, just like you do in the summer. At some point in the last, I don't even know when. At some point, the train stopped running, at least not all the way to Needleton, and most of the people that do winter Chicago Basin now do it the way I did it. You start at Purgatory.
Purgatory. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about 18 miles.
Yeah.
It's about 18 miles to get into the basin. The low point of the basin, I was around 10,800.
And
But
then you got to
I would,
gain it all back again.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was tough. That was tough. My legs can go for days and days. My shoulders, I don't do weights like I should. If I did some weights, it would help with that. But I just don't like doing weights. I find it very boring, and I don't like the slow pace of it.
Well, and if you did weights, you would probably put on a little weight, and part of your
Yeah,
advantage is that you're probably pretty darn light on your feet,
yeah,
and you've got the right strength to weight ratio, so you're able to move like you do. So,
yeah.
you know, you can't have it all. At least at our age, you can't, Will. One more specific winter hiking question about another hike you did. You
Yeah,
said earlier you did Culebra this past December. I remember you posted it on
it was
social
cold.
media. It was one of the coldest. So how cold was it, and what was your experience doing Culebra in the winter? Because we don't hear a lot about it because it's a private hike,
Yeah, it didn't start off that cold. I camped at the trailhead, which is around 9,000 feet. I
and
want to
they'll
say,
let
I
you
want
do
to,
that there, obviously.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They let you camp right at the gate before the next day. It was like 15 degrees when I went to bed, which is, that's average, maybe a
Hmm.
little cooler than average, but it didn't feel super cold to start the day. I don't remember what it was that morning. It was probably in the teens again. But when I got up to above tree line, man, it just hit, and it was windy, but not super windy. Probably 20, maybe 25 miles an hour. At the summit of Calibra, it was just below zero. It was like negative point 2 degrees, so it's right below zero. Calibra is not super difficult in winter. There's generally a trench. There was a trench up to tree line and really
Okay.
past tree line the day I went from people the previous weekend. You're never alone up there because they don't let anybody go alone. If they don't have at least two people signed up for the day, they just cancel the day.
Oh,
Mm.
really?
Uh,
So
Okay.
yeah,
so it's always a group hike.
yeah, it's always a group hike, but you're not like together.
Okay.
I started off. There were five of us the day I went. I was by myself. Another guy, David Way, was by himself, and then there was a group of three that I never really met or talked to. So five of us signed up for the day. David and I started off together, and we talked a little bit the first mile or so up the road. But then it started getting cold, and I needed to go my own pace to, maintain body
Yeah, you
temperature.
left him in the
Uh,
dust, is what had happened.
well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
well, I mean, I can't get cold because I'm not moving, as
Yeah.
hard as I
No, you
Yeah.
got to
can.
move at your pace. You got to
Sure.
Uh,
you got to create heat.
but yeah, so anyway, David got up to probably 13,000. I was the only one that made it to summit that day. I think
Mhm.
everybody, the
Mm.
cold, David, the same thing. He said he just started getting too cold and couldn't maintain body heat. And, none of this stuff is worth dying or getting frostbite for. So I was able to get to the top, but on the downhill sections, it was tough because you're not working as hard, but you're
Yeah.
still
Mm.
feeling just as much cold. It was a tough day, tough day. I've had several days like that, but that was the coldest day I've had in recent memory. Every winter there's a few days like that. I generally won't go out if the forecast is any lower than zero. I think the forecast was like for 7 degrees that day. If it had been forecasted to be zero, I probably would have still gone out. But if the forecasted temp is below zero, I stay home.
Did
Mm.
you also gather Red Mountain or any of the other 13ers north of it when you did
Just
Culebra, or
red.
did you just
Yeah, just
okay?
just
Got
red,
red
just red.
too.
Yeah,
Okay.
I wasn't planning on doing red, but when I got up to the top of Calibra, it's cold and windy. Calibra is buried in clouds, so I was hoping I already had red. I already had a winter red, so I really didn't need it for the list. But I thought if I went to red, maybe the clouds would push out and I'd have some views, which they did.
Oh,
So got over to red and then came back to Calibra, and the clouds had moved out, so I had some cool views. So
that
if you're going
sounds
to spend
great.
Calibra money, you want to at least get some views out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Plus,
Like,
plus if you do red, then your per peak cost goes down by 50%.
will they let you hike as many of
No,
those 13ers as you want, or do you have to specify in advance what your trip plan
no,
is?
they only for that group you're only allowed Calibra and red. If you want to do
Mm.
the other 13ers on that ridge that are on their property, you can't do it in winter, and you have to
Okay.
set that up specifically, and it's a different. It's more expensive.
So if
Okay.
you it's Culebra Red and Deanza, and is that the southernmost one on their property? And then there's like one more, right?
Dianza
So,
is the northernmost, and
okay.
it's actually just slightly out of their property. It's like
Oh,
300 feet
Okay.
further.
Oh,
that's
I
good
didn't
And
know
for
that.
Eric and I to know
It
this
is. Yeah.
spring
We were
because
looking at
yeah,
that.
it's actually slightly beyond their property. It's actually on the ranch that's on the other side of the mountain, Bar NI.
Yeah.
There's actually no legal access to De Anza. It's on bar and eyes, and they don't have any sort of setup to let people go up.
Okay.
Interesting.
Is
Okay.
it fenced? Do they
I don't
actively keep
know.
people out like Trinchera Ranch does?
I don't think it's secured in any way. They probably have cameras. Cielo Vista, I guess they have fences around the main property, but they don't really have fences around all of the summits. I did the northern peaks last summer. Like I say, you can set that up with Cielo Vista. There's
Okay.
no fences or anything that I saw, but I think they all use cameras. I know the people that have been busted poaching stuff on Cielo Vista, they catch them on the camera, then they fly a drone up to verify what they see is what they think they saw, and then they call the sheriffs, and you're going to have a bad day.
Wow.
Okay,
There's a
interesting.
high-tech
Yeah.
anti-trespassing well,
Yeah.
maybe not for trespassers, but certainly for poachers, they'll probably
They
pull
call
out the
it
big
they call
guns.
it they call it Operation Dark Snake.
Are you
Oh,
serious?
interesting.
It has a name. I mean, there's a number of people. I'm not naming any names, but there are people I'm familiar with that have done Operation Dark Snake. But yeah, that's what they call it.
Okay.
That's fascinating.
Yeah.
All right. So you can pay for Culebra and Red in the wintertime, but everything else is off limits then.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. They do the Northern 13ers as one group that you can pay to do a separate day on, and then the Southern 13ers you can pay to do those separately. But I think they only do those in the summertime, and you have to sort of set that up specifically. And generally there'll be 5 or 10 people a year that are trying to get all the 13ers or all the bicentennials that will just kind of get together and schedule a day with them.
Yeah,
Okay.
this may not go in the episode, but Eric and I want to. I've done Trinchera and Leaning North and Leaning South,
Okay.
and I think
Yeah.
I've done Maxwell.
You did Maxwell
And
too, yeah.
yeah, and Eric and I want to go and just hit the entire ridge and just knock them all out at
As
some
much as we can on public
as many of
land.
the ones that we can legally
So
do. I guess.
Maxwell, yeah, I was gonna say Maxwell is the farthest south that you can go before you get on Bar and I's
Oh,
property.
Okay.
okay.
So the next two, Marquita and
Marquita, yeah.
Dianza, those are both on Bar and I's property, and they're
Oh,
they're
okay.
not technically legal.
I thought that Bobby and Peak or a couple other 13ers
Yes.
that were even farther south
Bobby
of that.
is, well, those are on Cielo Vista's property. So
No, that's Cielo Vista. Got it.
everything south of so
De
it's,
Anza.
everything south of De Anza is Cielo Vista, all the way down to the last 13er before New Mexico.
Okay.
Got it. Okay.
I was thinking that that we could do Marquita and at least Marquita this year, but it sounds like maybe we
no.
shouldn't be doing that, or we
Or you
shouldn't
should
be
wear some face paint.
Yeah, we should dark snake it.
Yeah, Operation Balaclava.
Well, if you go in the winter, you're going to need like white face paint.
Yeah,
That's true.
We
Yeah.
look like Russian winter troopers out there. So, last question about winter hiking: how many times have you done Chavano this winter, Will?
I was going to ask that too.
So, sorry to take that from you.
Technically winter, I've only done it twice, January and February. So I started when I was training for Pikes Peak last summer. I started doing Chavano like a couple times a month.
You just
I
do it
would
after
alternate-
work, wouldn't you? Like you just go up there and just
Yeah.
knock it out after work one day.
Yeah, when the days are long, when when you have 7, 8 p.m. sunsets, you can sneak up and down after work. Then I thought, hey, I think I'm going to try and just keep my Chavano streak alive. I'm going to do it at least once a month for as long as I can. So my Chavano streak goes back to last April. So if I get it in March, then I'll have a full year. But my total Chavano count is like 27 or 28. So
What's the fastest you've ever done it in any season?
quickest time over the summer, I got under 2.5 hours one time. Generally,
Round trip?
I'd be between, round trip. Generally, I'd be between 2:30 and 2:40 pretty consistently. One time, and I don't know what I did different, but I got down to like 2:29, 30 something. It was like 30 seconds under 2.5 hours.
It was the wind.
It must be because I don't think I'm going to be able to do that again. That was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Because it's what, 8.5 miles round trip? Is that what we're talking here?
About 9.6.
Okay.
From the standard trailhead, it's 9.6 miles, about 4,200 feet of gain.
So you're gaining about 1,400 feet an hour, 1,600 feet an hour at that pace, and going about. I
Well,
mean,
gaining, I'm getting up in like
yeah,
90 or 95 minutes. So
yeah,
it's a
that's
little over
right.
2,000. So yeah, I get up in about 90, 95 minutes.
Whoa. What's your
Oh my
fastest
goodness.
winter time up there?
I haven't done it. I've only done it 3 times in winter. The first time in winter, which was in a standard snow year, and I did Tabawatch also. That was a hard day. I had to start 3 miles before the trailhead because the snow was too deep to
Oh,
drive.
wow.
So it was a 20-mile day, and I think it was 12 or 13 hours. There's a different route that I took. It wasn't winter, but in December, there's a different route that David Way kind of pioneered, where you start at Angel of Chavano Trailhead, which is always
Uh-huh.
plowed, and then you go and you basically cut up the ridge to Esprit Point. And if you just do Chavano from there, it's like 9 miles or 9.5 miles. It's a lot shorter day. I don't remember what my time was, but in December, there was actually snow up there. So I was trenching up through tree line. The 2 times in winter, I went up. The first time I added on the 13er to the north. And then last time I did Tabawatch again. I think it was like 6 or 7 hours. But there was no snow. I didn't even need snowshoes in January or February.
Wow.
Mm.
Are you angling to get the peak renamed after you? Is that what this is really all about?
There was some discussion. I don't know if you guys saw the discussion on 14ers.com about the guy that was, suggesting
He's like,
renaming
he was like sending a
All these
batch of
peaks,
like 40
a whole
renames or
bunch of
something.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, I saw somewhere the rule on renaming a peak after a person can't occur until they've been dead for 5 years or something.
Until they've passed
I
away.
think
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, I think I saw that somewhere. So you guys will have to put that effort in after I'm gone.
Well,
Yep. Lucky
well,
Will Peak. We'll have to wait a little bit.
Will E the at least
Yeah.
like a sub summit like the Willie Point or something like that,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Oh.
So I was going to ask, and Zach asked about Chavano and Tabawash. I don't know if this is going to be the answer for you for this question as well, but do you have a favorite winter hike that you have done, whether it's solo with others, once, multiple times, beyond Chavano and Tabawash? What else have you really enjoyed hiking in the
You
winter?
know, I've not done a lot of winter repeats. I've done Quandary several times just because it doesn't take a lot of time and it's easy parking and there's no nasty dirt road to get there. The sketchiest of the winter peaks were the most rewarding, but I'm probably not ever going to do them again just because there's so much risk and because I want to get as many 13ers as I can. I want to get new
Yeah, you're
peaks.
seeking novelty, not repeats here.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. The Crestones, I will, at some point, I want to go get East Crestone with the whole,
Yeah. Yep.
debacle about 0.6 inches. I'll go do. I don't know. I wouldn't say I have much for favorites. I say other than the 14ers that I like the most and the most memorable ones, Chicago Basin's memorable, South Maroon, but I'm certainly not going to go do the Belcourt in winter again. That was risky enough the first time.
Yeah.
Winter, North Maroon, that was my finisher. So that one is, that one will always be pretty memorable just because it was so hard and because it was the last one. I don't think I could say I have a favorite. I really wouldn't say that Chavano is my favorite. It's easy, convenient, and I can do it on Sunday without having to skip church.
Yeah.
nice benefit.
That's right. That's
the,
right.
the Lord approves. That's good.
Yes,
a Sabbath.
He has kept me safe many a time. I should not miss as many Sundays as I do.
Yeah. What is it? Psalms 23. The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He leads me up Chavano.
Yeah. That's the new Zach version, or the
That's
new
my
Will Erickson version of the Bible. Yeah.
That's the living translation right there. Yeah.
He has kept me safe on many a couloir and Capitol's Ridge.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned it a couple times, but this will kind of timestamp this. This is in 2026, but
Yeah.
we've had a historically low snow year.
Yeah.
What have you observed when you've been out this year in terms of snow conditions?
It's different in different places. Chavano, like I say, Chavano in January was completely dry. I mean, there was just hardly any snow, even at the upper reaches of tree line, which was weird because when I went up in early December, I mean, it was standard snowy snowshoes trenching. I took snowshoes up in January because I thought that the snow that was there in December would still be there in January, even though we hadn't added any snow, but I also didn't think it was warm enough for snow to melt at 10, 11, 12,000 feet.
Yeah.
Other places, the peaks we were just talking about, Trinchera and Maxwell and Leaning Peak, I did those on New Year's Day. Very little snow. We didn't even, I went with a friend, we didn't even take snowshoes, and we were fine. A little bit of post-holing on the way back, but not much, and certainly no regrets not taking snowshoes. But then, the Elks, I was surprised how much snow there was, even though it's less than normal. I mean, I was still in snowshoes from, pretty much the trailhead going up towards Capitol. So the differences between the Elks and the Swatch are pretty stark, even though technically both of them are very low snowpack years. Last weekend in the Sangres, that was some of the toughest trenching I've ever had. Part of it's just where I was at around Sand Creek Lake.
Yeah.
It's kind of past a couple of ridges where the snow doesn't really blow out of there like it does in some places. The snow there was some of the toughest trenching I've had. It was really pretty deep on the east side of that slope. But low snow is not zero snow, so there's still a lot of snow out there, just not nearly as much as years past. But part of the trenching challenge is not necessarily how much snow there is, but how much it consolidates. I mean, when I did snowmass in January of 23, standard snow year, plenty of snow, but the snow had consolidated really well, and it felt easier, even though it was a 26-mile day that took me 19 hours.
If it's solid, it's easier to walk on.
Yeah.
We've grilled Will pretty good about winter hiking.
You've been a good sport as usual, Will.
I think you guys need to get some snowshoes on and come give this stuff a try.
I grew up snowshoeing and cross country skiing all the time. If I lived there, I'd be doing it. And then I'm actually coming out in March for a conference in Springs. And I'm going to rope Eric into going on a hike, or he's roping me. I'm not sure which of us is.
One of us is roping the other one into doing a winter hike. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it'll be fun.
Have anything specific you're looking at yet?
We tried James last year and got blown off the mountain.
Yeah.
But so we might go back there. Do you have any recommendations in the area?
James Peak is a good one because a lot of people go up the glacier to ski.
Yeah.
Yep.
Up St. Mary's.
I've done James in winter. It was my first winter, but I think once you get above the glacier, you're trenching up to the rest of the way. Yeah. James is a good one. For 13ers, Kelso Mountain's not a bad choice.
Interesting. Okay.
You got to walk the road up towards Grays and Torreys because the road gets snowed in. The Sangres are all like super long distance. There's no. The nice thing about the Sangres is they're relatively low avalanche risk. Because most of them that you approach from the east side are not super steep. Yeah. But it's a lot of work because you're almost always starting at 8,000 or 9,000 feet.
Yeah.
Gosh, Front Range. The peaks around Herman Lake, Pettingill, and the Citadel.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Those are reasonably short. I think it's like 6 miles to tree line, and then a mile or two to the top. Those are good ones. There's some other peaks around there, Hassel and Bard, and those are usually trenched out because a lot of people trench up to Herman Lake in the winter.
Maybe we'll just find out where you were the previous weekend.
Yes, we'll keep track. Yeah. Where is Will going to be in late March? And we'll just go there.
Hey, Will, can you go cut a trench for us? Hey, thanks so much for taking time out of your day.
We'll so much fun.
We'll hook back up with you in a year or so and get some more stories out of you.
Sounds good. Sounds good.
Well, Zach, that was a lot of fun with Will Erickson. What do you think?
He's a good guy for going along with our shenanigans and laughing with us. That was a ton of fun. I loved, there are a lot of little tidbits in here that I thought were fun. His description of doing capital I thought was great, and I think it makes you realize the different tolerances for exposure that are out there, like him talking about the quote unquote easier route on capital or the best way. And he's like, yeah, it's a little airy there. And I'm like, that might be a no for me. Um, I thought that was really interesting. I love talking about the Southern Sangres. That was
Mm.
great. Yeah, what did you find of value in our conversation?
Yeah, I totally agree. His description of capital was a lot of fun. You mentioned little tidbits. He mentioned something about keeping his water in a liquid state as opposed to a frozen state of winter. He just tucks it in his shirt, and I thought that's like brilliant. I know
Yeah.
how have I never heard anyone talk about that before? I
Uh,
just little things like that I thought were really cool. So yeah, a lot of fun talking with Will.
yeah, that was great. We all put our pant legs on one leg at a time. He's human, and he started later too as a
Mm,
hiker, and I think that's part of both his drive and his passion and his humility. I'm always struck when we talk to these people that are just such better hikers and climbers than you and I will ever be, that
yep.
um, part of what makes them that way is their drive. I mean, Will's out there every weekend
Hmm.
doing the thing. There's not a weekend that goes by that he's not out there finding an adventure. And here you and I are, watching a Bronco game or taking naps. Will's out there cutting trench. So
Yep. Yep.
it really strikes me the level of drive in people like Will and others is really pretty amazing. So always an inspiration to talk to people like that.
Agreed. Well, Zach, what are we going to talk about on our next episode?
Next episode, we're going to talk about the things we wish we knew as
There's
hikers.
a long list for me.
That's why I put the as hikers in there. Things I wish I knew as a human being. I mean, that could be actually a podcast unto itself. Like
It's
not
yeah.
like an episode. Like we're talking daily episodes.
Yeah.
Just do one a day of like the things
Yeah.
Zach wishes he knew, regrets and mistakes he's made in his life.
Oh boy.
Now we're going to talk about things we wish we knew, and hopefully, we're kind of coming around the bend here to some late spring, early summer hiking, especially given the weather. So maybe this will give some folks some things to chew on for things to do and maybe ways to improve and maybe learn from our regrets and mistakes, Eric. So
Oh man.
so if people want to get a hold of us, Eric, if they want to reach out, if they want to just live a little bit more in the greens and blues universe, how can they do so?
Oh, there's a lot of ways to get a hold of us. We love getting emails from our listeners at greensandbluespodcast@gmail.com. You can also go to our website, which is greensandbluespodcast.podbean.com, where you can access our Facebook group and our YouTube channel, and you can leave us a voicemail. We've had a couple people leave us voicemails, and
I feel a user call-in segment coming along here, Eric.
it might be if we can get maybe another person or two to call in, or if we can resurrect Macho Man Randy Savage from the grave and have him call back in again, we may have an episode on our hands there.
Yeah, for the few people that have sent us voicemails, know that we've gotten them. They've worked, and we're busily compiling them into hopefully an episode at some point. We got to work on how to insert the audio in those, and by we, I mean Eric does. Yeah, we really appreciate everybody that's reached out to us that way.
Indeed. Thanks for listening, and we will catch you next time.